watching WKBN 27 First News, where your news comes first. Now in high definition.
Oftentimes when people are diagnosed with a condition, it requires certain medications, and for some it means more than just taking the pills.
It could result in having to change your entire diet, meaning it could affect the way your whole family is eating. Dr. Sevilla, Michael Sevilla, joins us now this morning with more on medication, diet, the connection, what to do. Last hour we talked about this a little bit. We didn't even get into the herbal supplement idea because so many people are vitamin happy and health food happy right now. How does that complicate the whole thing?
A lot of things, a lot of those medicines or herbals, I mean, they do interfere with your prescription medicines too. We talked before about blood thinners. They can affect blood thinners too. They can affect some of your heart medicines. And what's interesting is, you know, that people have to tell their doctors that they're on these medicines because sometimes I don't even know about them.
Right, the natural things. Because I know when you go to put the history down, you think about what medications you might be taking, but you don't list something out of the health food store. So what types of things do people have to, are there any particular herbal supplements that might wreak havoc?
Well, I mean, it really depends on what your medical problems are and what prescription medicines you are. So sometimes I tell my patients, you know, bring everything that you take in a bag and bring it into the office. We could talk about each one of these in addition to your prescription medicines, because if people have a side effect or they feel sick, they think it's a prescription medicine, but it could be something else that they're taking. It could be a food that they're taking. It could be one of these herbal medicines that they're taking, so it's important to talk about it.
And a lot of things that people don't realize is about, you know, there's a technical name for this that a lot of people know what it is, and then there's the generic brand name that you might not recognize, and a lot of people don't put two and two together when taking these things. Is that right?
That's right, and I have a lot of my patients now who ask me for the generic medicine because, you know, it is a little bit cheaper than the name brand, but when they go to the pharmacy or when they get it in the mail, they get very confused because there's like two names there, and what is it? They have all these side effects, and it's very confusing for people.
Okay, so if you maybe notice a big change once you start taking a new medication, maybe that's the time to revisit everything you're doing too, like, because like you said, a lot of people will notice and say, okay, I'm not taking this anymore, and just stop taking it.
Right.
Do you do that? You call the doctor first? What's the protocol?
Well, sure, certainly you should contact your doctor first, and then they can try to put things together as far as, is it the prescription medicine, is it the over-the-counter medicine, is it something in your diet, to try to work together on that.
Okay. We went through the blood thinners and not being able to have the vitamin K vegetables, the leafy greens and so on. If you have to change your diet because you've started taking a medication, how do you manage to get everybody in the family what they need? Because you're basically preparing meals for more than just yourself.
Yeah, it can be very confusing for some, you know, for a lot of families. But I do have some families who, you know, if they have like a heart attack or some kind of event like that, sometimes it's an opportunity for families to kind of revisit things as far as what are we having for meals. Not only meals, but snacking, eating late at night, not eating. So it's a good opportunity for the family just to kind of review things as far as, are there stuff we can do better, not just for this one person, but for the entire family.
For everybody. So sometimes it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, a lot of people tend to, when they're on medications, they might miss a dosage. And what's the best, you know, what's the rule of thumb if you miss a dose? Do you just take the next dose, or should you, what do you do?
Yeah, it really depends on what kind of medicine it is, because if you do, you know, if you think you took one and then you double dose it, that could be bad. So you should contact your doctor about that. A lot of questions too, I guess, is you know, what time of day, and that's another thing to work with your physician about.
Right. You know, so many of these pharmacies too have lists of things so that they can call you if they see that something doesn't jive. Like you might be on two medications that cause problems together, etc. Do you suggest to your patients stick with one pharmacy, don't pharmacy jump, because a lot of people do that for bargains and deals. Do you give any advice that way?
I know it's tough for people with the cost to do that, so I generally don't do that. But, you know, we do have a record in our office as far as what prescriptions that we give them. But the most important thing I tell people is, you know, to have a list of your medicines with you at all times. You know, not only your prescription medicines, but your over-the-counter medicines can be very important at some point.
And one quick question about like pain relievers and medications. Is it a good idea? A lot of times doctors say you can take Tylenol and stuff when you're on your medications, but are there things that you can't interact those two things with?
There are, because there's some of the pain medicines or combination medicines, some of them have Tylenol in them. So if you take a prescription medicine and you take Tylenol over the counter on top of that, that could be bad too.
Right, so you really have to pay attention.
It's very confusing.
All right, Doctor, thanks so much for being here. Cleared some things up for us this morning. We appreciate it.
Well, when we're diagnosed with a certain condition or put on a medication, it could mean more than a slight change in what you eat or remembering to take a pill every day.
That's right. It could mean changing up your entire diet and what you're cooking for your family as well. So Dr. Michael Sevilla joins us this morning with a closer look at how it's all connected, and it's quite complicated.
It's very complicated.
Because, you know, we talk about it as we all age. It seems that people are on more and more medications. So their diets then are forced to change, or do they even realize it? And you've seen it in your office. Can you describe what goes on?
Well, one of the most common questions I get are with blood thinners. People are on it for if they have a funny heart rhythm or if they've had a stroke. People may have heard the terms Coumadin or warfarin. That's the most common questions I get. And people have questions about what that is and what vitamin K does. And what they do is they help thin the blood, or they cause blood clots. And there's a lot of things that have vitamin K in it, green leafy vegetables and things, very healthy type of things. And I get a lot of questions about what to do with your diet.
Right, because technically if you're on a Coumadin, you're not supposed to have broccoli, you're not supposed to have spinach, all the things they tell you are good for you, and probably a lot of these people who've had issues, health issues, have been eating nothing but a lot of this stuff, and then all of a sudden they're not allowed to have it anymore.
Well, what I tell people is that to be consistent with your diet. I have a patient who they eat a salad every day, and they say, do I have to stop that? I'm like, no, just continue what you're doing. It's big changes that people want to change their diet to have a lot of green leafy vegetables or broccoli and they're on Coumadin to talk to me about that. But if you're on that, you know, and you're eating healthy and salads and things, you can work with your doctor on how to do that. You don't have to stop it completely.
So you can take a little bit here and there.
Right.
You don't have to completely just drop it out. Is that right?
Exactly. It's one of the misconceptions out there, and it's something you have to talk to your doctor about.
Right, I see.
Something I was looking up here, grapefruit interactions with drugs. That's a big thing, is that right?
There's been some literature on that as far as eating grapefruit with certain medicines, particularly cholesterol type medicines. There may be some interference or interactions with that. So that's another thing to talk to your doctor about as far as what to eat, what not to eat.
So like the so-called statins, because everybody knows it by a different thing. So like what is that, Zocor, some of those types of drugs?
Yeah, people may know it as Lipitor and Crestor and Simvastatin was a generic name. There's a lot of medicines out there like that.
And then because if you're one of these people who have a grapefruit every day and then all of a sudden you go on this medication, is the literature there? I mean, if people really, because I don't know how many people really read every bit of fine print that comes on their medication, but should they? Is that part of the problem too? Is they don't realize all these foods?
Yeah, the instructions.
Well, there's a lot of side effects, and there's a lot of interactions with it, and I get a lot of questions on that because when they come back from the pharmacy, there's a big list of things, and people get scared and they say, you know, I shouldn't even take this medicine. So it's another opportunity to talk to your doctor about what your concerns are about the medicine.
Okay.
All right, and also I was looking at alcohol too. A lot of people think, you know, you could take alcohol with anything and it's fine, but that's not necessarily the case. Is that right?
Especially with blood thinners. You know, if you're on it for heart problems or stroke or that type of thing, it can really thin your blood more, which can be a big problem with those type of medicines.
Okay. There's lots to think about. Lots to think about. But you don't want to scare people away from taking the drugs, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they need it.
If they need it, particularly for heart problems and things, it is necessary. But you know, if people are concerned, you should talk to your doctor about all this, because not only about those medicines, but all the medicines you're on. If you're on over-the-counter medicines, it's very, very complicated, like you said.
Okay, we're going to talk more about this issue in our next hour. Plenty more questions we have for you. We'll try to go down a list.